Welcome to Pinnacle's betting preview of the Four Nations Face-Off final between Canada and the USA. We are going to give you our thoughts, our predictions, our picks. We're going to break down the matchup. This is the game we were all expecting, and we got it. Canada-USA on February 20th for the championship. I'm Anthony Bruno, joined by Scott Cullen and Ben Barclay on behalf of Pinnacle. Before we get into the game, I have to break down all the injury news that has happened today. So at the time of recording, right now, the line is sitting at Canada minus 110, USA minus 102. The total is set at 5.5, juice towards the under. But right before we came on to record, a ton of injury news here. So Charlie McAvoy has been ruled out with an upper body injury. But also, Quinn Hughes, who was officially ruled out of the tournament with an injury, is now going to be rejoining Team USA for the championship game. However, it remains to be seen if he's actually going to play, because it looks like it's going to take another injury for him to draw into the lineup, similar to the Thomas Harley situation with Team Canada. On top of that, Austin Matthews is dealing with an upper body injury, and the Tkachuk brothers are both dealing with lower body injuries. However, it looks like Matthews, Brady Tkachuk, and Matthew Tkachuk are all going to play. So it just seems like there is a cloud of uncertainty over this game right now. The markets have been moving at Pinnacle, and I'm sure they're going to continue to move. But right now, very close to a coin flip. Team Canada, slight favorite. So let's get right into it, gentlemen. Scott, I'm going to start with you. You obviously came into the tournament backing Team USA. Where do you stand right now heading into the final?
Well, let's say, Anthony, all this injury news is not inspiring confidence on my end. It's one thing to maybe there's one player who's a little banged up or something, but we're going a little deeper into the roster here, and that's really what my concern is, particularly the McAvoy injury, because I thought he was excellent for Team USA in the first game. He played a really physical game against Canada's best players. He got in McDavid's face, got in Crosby's face, and so I think his absence is going to create a hole there. And what was really important for USA in that first game is that their defense was able to stifle all those skilled players for Canada. And I think that's what kind of gives USA as good a chance to win this final game, is that if they have a strong defense that can kind of limit the outstanding talent that Canada has. So the injury on the back end is a concern. I don't know if Quinn Hughes is actually going to get into the lineup. And even if he does, the last games that Hughes played just before the break for this tournament, he looked pretty rough because he was hurt. And so expecting that all of a sudden he's going to get thrust into the lineup for this championship game and be a difference maker, like it's possible. He's quite possibly been the best defenseman in the NHL this year, but it's also possible he's still hurt. And so I think, I'm not changing my pick because I still like Connor Hellebuck. I think he's played really well for them. But I'm more wary now than I was at the start of the tournament to take USA.
All right, so Scott is sticking with Team USA. He had them pre-tournament. He is sticking with them in the final. Ben, how about you? Because before the tournament started, you were riding with Canada. How are you feeling about this now heading into the final?
Guys, I'm just double and triple checking. Yes, we do have a game to play Thursday. After that result on Saturday, it seemed like the world was ending and the U.S. had won the tournament. Not so fast. Here we are. I'm sticking with Canada. I do think they're going to win. I would bet them in this game, probably up to about a minus 115. Of course, there's so many moving parts as we've dove into here. The injury stuff with the Americans, more or less. Hughes jumping right into this lineup, even if he gets the opportunity to, who's going to be the sacrificial lamb here that gets hurt or is sick? Is it going to be Jake Sanderson, Noah Hannafin, Brock Faber? Do they play 7 defensemen and 11 forwards if given that opportunity? I don't know. So it's tough to judge what the U.S. lineup is going to look like exactly. I do know, as an Ottawa Senators fan myself, Brady Tkachuk and Matthew, even if they're a little banged up, they only have one gear, and it's to go 100% all the time. So they will be going. Matthews, I know he's been quiet. We don't know the status there. He hasn't really left his mark on this tournament yet, so I do fear that. But the shakeup Canada made post that game on Saturday with the forward lines, I think opened stuff up. You just got a new mix in there. Binnington, he's been a polarizing figure for me in net. He's made some big saves when they needed them, but then again, there's still those ones going in where you're like, gotta have them. If we can maybe clean up, if there isn't that one goal there that, gotta have from Binnington, I'd like Canada's chances a lot to win. Even if they can survive that one goal again, I think the offense will open up more than they did last time, and they will game plan differently and just funnel more pucks towards Connor Hellebuck, who is the biggest obstacle in their way here. Make life more difficult for him. Get to the net, get pucks to the net, make sure he can't see as much. So for an array of reasons, I'm sticking with Canada. And the biggest one for me, it goes back to, I said pre-tournament, I don't think either of these teams, I don't think one team's going to beat the other team twice if they did match up in the final. So when watching on Saturday, I turned to my girlfriend and I said, you know what? I don't think they would win the finals even if they won this game and they matched up again. So there's my saving grace. That was kind of some copium in the moment for me. But I'm sticking with Canada. Let's go.
All right, so Scott sticking with Team USA. Ben is sticking with Canada. As for me, I am also sticking with Team Canada. So I'll get into all the reasons why I like Canada in this game. But first of all, just going over these lines again. So Canada opened as an underdog. If you were able to grab them as an underdog, I think that's incredible value because I think that they should be favored in this game. And at Pinnacle, they are slight favorites right now. Again, it's very close to a coin flip. But at the time of recording, Canada minus 110, USA minus 102. Here's why I like Canada in this game. So number one is the return of Cale Makar. Cale Makar did not play in the first Canada-USA game. Obviously, the United States won that game 3-1. Cale Makar comes back into the lineup against Finland, immediately logs the most ice time on the team, buzzing all over the place, creating opportunities offensively. The guy's a one-man breakout. He's one of the top 5 players in the world. He's going to make a huge difference because when you slot him in at the top of the depth chart on defense, everyone else kind of slots in and plays the amount of minutes that they should be playing. Obviously, Devon Taves and him have incredible continuity. And low-key, Devon Taves, I think, has had a really good tournament. He's really impressed me. So I think that's going to be huge for Canada. The other reason I like them here, and I think that they should be even shorter, honestly, than minus 110, it's because of this injury uncertainty with the USA. I know that Matthews and the Tkachuk brothers are expected to play, but how banged up are they? Being a Leaf fan, this Matthews injury has me concerned, not only for the people who are betting on Team USA, but also Leaf fans who want to see this guy healthy and in the lineup come playoff time, because it seems like he's been dealing with this injury. At least I think it's the same injury he's been dealing with all season. So how healthy is he going to be? The Tkachuk brothers, when Matthew got injured in the Canada-USA game, it did not look good. Same when Brady got injured in the final USA round-robin game. So how healthy are those guys going to be? The Tkachuk brothers have both had really solid tournaments. Matthews has been a little bit quieter. And then this Quinn Hughes situation, honestly, even if Quinn Hughes draws into the lineup, I find it very hard to believe that he's going to all of a sudden play like 20-plus minutes in this game. So if you go back to the first matchup, it was actually the Slavin and Brock Faber pairing that got the most minutes. And then McAvoy, I think McAvoy is a big loss as well. Like, he had top 4 minutes in that game. I think if Quinn Hughes does play, I think they're going to kind of ease him in. Maybe they'll use him on the power play. Like, I don't think he's just going to slot in and play like 25 minutes. Like, this is going to be a beast of a game just to jump into the fire for. Even though you're Quinn Hughes, and as Scott mentioned, arguably the best defenseman in the league this year. But it remains to be seen. So again, I think that the injury uncertainty, Makar coming back into the lineup, that gives the edge to Canada. And then on top of that, I think Canada was able to discover some things offensively in the last game. They promoted Braden Point to the top line with Connor McDavid. Mitch Marner moved down to the third line. The second line got shaken up a little bit. And not to toot my own horn, after that Canada-USA game, I said Braden Point is the obvious guy to promote up into the top 6 because he's got the speed, he's got the goal-scoring ability, and he was a great fit, I thought, with Connor McDavid in that game against Finland. So those are all the reasons why I like Canada in this game. So it looks like we're all sticking with our original picks heading into the tournament. How about the total in this game, guys? So right now, like I mentioned, sitting at 5.5, juice towards the under at minus 119. Scott, what are your thoughts on the total here?
Well, the interesting thing is that this tournament has had quite a few, decent scoring games, 7, 8 goals in a number of them. But the first time that Canada and USA faced off, not only was it, 2-1 plus an empty net goal, is that you end up, the shot total were so low and so few quality scoring chances that it was really hard to see how you would get to a total of 6 goals or more. Despite all the great talent that's there. I mean, no one denies the talent that the Americans have up front or that Team Canada has up front. Like, there's a lot of great players, but the level of defensive play is just so high that they really had a hard time creating chances. And I don't think that that's going to get any easier in the championship game. So I'm going towards the under here. I know minus 119 is, you're paying a bit of a price for it, but I'll be stunned if this game ends up as a high scoring game.
All right, so Scott likes the under. How about you, Ben? How are you feeling about this 5.5 total?
I too like the under. I'll be playing it in full. I play it up to about minus 120, right about where it's getting about a cent or two better goal than most other books. But for me, I'm looking at it as it's a game 7. And where do we go in game 7s? Personally, it's game 7 unders. We know the stats. We know the track record of them. But I think everything will just be even more tight than it was Saturday night. There's not going to be anyone wanting to make that one mistake, both individually and as a team. They're going to be so sound, so structured. Makar back in there for Canada is also big. As much as that might help on the offensive side too, he's going to, as Anthony mentioned, log a ton of defensive minutes in all situations for them too. And having these teams just seen each other Saturday, they're familiar. They now know what's kind of coming. So maybe edge to Canada again there, switching things up forward line wise, where I don't think the Americans will be changing things up as much up front since the first game. So for me, it's an underplay, and I'd even look towards the first period under 1.5. They can get that at about minus 110. No chances being taken early. No one's really going to be shot out of a cannon, I don't think. I mean, obviously, McDavid could always do that. But again, no mistakes early, nothing to set your team back too far early on. So I could see easily a 0-0 or a 1-0 for either side first period.
All right, so you guys are both on the under, and I like that play as well from Ben. You're also on under 1.5 in the first period. All right, so listen, I'm going to echo a lot of what you guys have said. I also like the under in this game. I don't want to say I'd be shocked if this game goes over, but, we look at all the talent on both teams offensively, and sure, this game could just open up and be an absolute track meet, but I just find it so hard to see that happening because not only are these teams so good offensively, just when you look at their defensive structure, how fast they are, how they're able to quickly just close down lanes through the neutral zone, how they keep everything to the outside, when they're in their own end. It's so hard for both of these teams to get to the middle of the ice. And that's what we saw in the first game. Like, there just wasn't a lot of scoring chances. Like, if you get a grade A scoring chance in this game, you better make the most of it because you're not going to see a ton of great looks throughout the course of these games when these two teams are matched up with one another. Like, not even just both teams' decors, which I think are fantastic. You go through every single forward line. Even the top lines on both teams are so responsible defensively. There's just not a lot of room to operate out there. It's just such a quick, efficient game on both sides that I think it's going to be another low-scoring game. And I don't want to go into the past and look at what happened 10 and 15 years ago, but every time these teams play, you go back to the gold medal game in Vancouver, Canada won 3-2. The semifinal game in Sochi, Canada beat the USA 1-0. Not that matters and has any relevance to what's going to happen on February 20th, but I just think it's going to be another tight checking game. Both teams are so fast, so good defensively. So I think it's going to be another low scoring affair. I like the under at minus 119 at 5.5. All right, guys, I'm going to put you all on the spot here. Give me an exact score prediction for the game, starting with Ben.
So I'm going with 2-1 Canada, overtime, Cale Makar, game-winning goal.
I love it. Cale Makar, game-winning goal in overtime. Fantastic. All right, Scott, how about you? Exact score, and just like Ben said, give us the guy who's going to score the game winner.
Well, I'm going to take the USA 3-2. As I've said, I'm doing this even less confidently than I was before. But let's call it 3-2 with Brady to Chuck, scoring something ugly to win.
Wow, Brady Kachuk. I'm sure Canadian hockey fans are going to love seeing one of the Kachuk brothers score the game-winning goal. Wow. All right. I got Canada winning 3-2 in regulation, and I have Braden Point scoring the game-winning goal for Team Canada, playing on that top line with Connor McDavid. Maybe a little Connor McDavid to Braden Point action for the game winner. All right. So I think we've pretty much covered all our bases here. We're all on the under. Ben and I are sticking with Team Canada. Scott is planting his flag on Team USA, betraying our country. Any final thoughts, gentlemen, before we wrap this thing up?
Well, I'll say that, as much as I've mentioned how hesitant I am already, the thing that concerns me is all these injuries. Is that because Makar is back and the games that he missed were due to illness, I don't expect the illness to reestablish itself and be an issue for him. So I think Makar is, you can count on him to be 100%. Whereas I look at the Tkachuk brothers or Matthews, and if they have, these lingering injuries, something could happen during the game in the way that they play, particularly the Tkachuk brothers, that, they just might not be able to go. And so like it will not shock me if something happens and all of a sudden Matthew Tkachuk can't finish the game because, he's hurt. And that makes it all the more challenging here for USA. Still taking them, but, I'm a little wary here, Anthony.
All right, fair enough. Well, Ben, how about you? Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it will have quite the same feel as Saturday with the fights early and stuff. That was more of a show. We knew that was pre-planned. This is going to be get down to business. If something happens organically throughout the game, I wouldn't be surprised. But again, tighter start. And Anthony, kind of just one for you. As a Leafs fan, who do you think exercises their demons better in a Game 7 involved TD, Mitch Marner or Austin Matthews?
Oh man, what a great question, Ben. Wow, I love that. Okay, so we have seen both of these guys have moments in the playoffs, and we've seen them have some terrible moments in the playoffs. Here's what I'm going to say. I don't think either of them are going to have a great impact in this championship game. Maybe that's the safe answer here. Obviously, Austin Matthews means a little bit more to Team USA than Mitch Marner does to Team Canada, especially since Marner got demoted to the third line. But then Matthews, going in with this injury, I don't know how it's going to affect him. So I'm going to say both guys have kind of a quiet championship game. Cue to Matthews scoring the OT winner for Team USA. All right. I'll give just a couple final thoughts here. Like I said, I think this is going to be a low-scoring, tight-checking game. I know no one really brought up Jordan Binnington. I'm not overly worried about him. We talked a lot about this before the tournament started. Team Canada is obviously gonna go to the end with this guy. There's no chance that they're turning to Aiden Hill at this point. Unless Binnington gives up like 2 goals in the first 5 minutes of the game, then it's probably over. But again, I think this is going to come down to the wire. 1-goal game. I can't wait for it. It is the matchup we have all been waiting for as hockey fans. And I think it's going to live up to the hype. All right. That is going to do it for our betting preview of the Four Nations face-off final between Canada and the USA. If you are betting on the Four Nations face-off final, make sure you're checking out Pinnacle because you are going to get the best odds and best payouts in the industry, no matter what you are betting on in this game. All right. Enjoy the hockey game. Best of luck with all your bets. And remember to bet smart and bet Pinnacle.